Isn't this because the DEA is supposed to have give my wife a bunch of crap in Utah? Men had to be 21.
So I had to have my parents sign for me to get married.
What? Seriously?
Where did you?
In Utah, yeah.
Well, Mary, that was a long time ago. So it's
7 o'clock. 7 o'clock.
We'll call this meeting to order. Thank you for attending. If we could all stand, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call.
Councilwoman Barlow.
Here.
Councilman Brown.
Here.
Councilman Gardner. Absent. Councilman Jensen.
Here. Okay, next item on the agenda. I'm going to, we want to pull that up here, put that in front so people can see it. In celebration of Blackfoot's 125th birthday, we were able to get in the congressional record, and this was done, this is in volume 172 in Washington, D.C., Monday, June 1st, 2026, in the proceedings and debates of the 119th Congress, second session, and it's number 92. The Senate recognizing the city of Blackfoot. Mr. Mr. President, I rise with my colleague, Senator Mike Crapo and Representative Mike Simpson, to celebrate the 125th anniversary of the city of Blackfoot. Officially incorporated on January 16th, 1901, the city of Blackfoot has helped shape the agricultural heritage that has defined Idaho for generations. Located along its namesake, the Blackfoot River, the city was established with an eye toward the future, surrounded by a key freight corridor and the historic Tilford Ferry. Blackfoot was also developed near an anticipated telegraphy route, making this area a perfect corridor for growth. Blackfoot's rich volcanic soil quickly made it a hub of agriculture, attracting travelers from across the nation. As more families moved in, Blackfoot's demand for irrigation rose. Early residents went to work, transforming the area into productive farmland by building irrigation ditches and canals that drew water from the Blackfoot River. The beautiful outdoor spaces that resulted from these efforts later inspired Blackfoot's nickname, the Grove City, which lives on in the Grove City Cemetery. Following the construction of Interstate 15 in the 1960s, Blackfoot experienced significant commercial growth and became a beloved destination. Today, the city is home to the Idaho Potato Museum and the Eastern Idaho State Fair, a tradition dating back to 1902 that now welcomes more than 250,000 attendees each year. As the seat of Bingham County, Blackfoot has produced several leaders who have helped shape Idaho's future. The city was home to Idaho's first U.S. Senator following statehood, Fred Du Bois. And the Blackfoot City Council was the first chapter in Congressman Mike Simpson's remarkable career as a public servant. Congratulations to the city of Blackfoot on 125 exceptional years. We are proud to recognize the city and its contributions to the great state of Idaho and its strong path toward future success. I would like to add, it's not part of the congressional record, but I think it leaves out some of the most important parts about Blackfoot. Perhaps the most remarkable chapter in our history wasn't written by politicians or businessmen. It was written by ordinary citizens with shovels and irrigation districts. And that's how we got to be called Grove City, because they dug those by hand to provide Schilling Street's a prime example of the lined street full of trees. Those same pioneers built more than streets and buildings. They built a community. Families started businesses that served generations. Farmers turned volcanic soil into some of the most productive farmland in America. Ranchers helped establish an agricultural economy that still supports our region today. Blackfoot eventually became known around the world as the potato capital of the world. But this title doesn't reflect just potatoes. It reflects the hard work and innovation of generation of local farmers. As the years passed, Blackfoot continued to grow. Schools were built to educate children. Churches strengthened faith and families. Businesses created opportunity. Hospitals cared for neighbors. Parks gave families places to gather. Every generation added another chapter to the story. Today, our city is different from the one our pioneers first knew. We have modern roads, schools, hospitals, technology, and businesses they could never have imagined. But the values that built Blackfoot have not changed. We still believe in hard work. We still value our neighbors. We still understand the importance of family, service, honesty, and community. We still believe that if something needs to be done, we roll up our sleeves and do it together. History is not just about remembering the past. It is about understanding the shoulders upon which we stand. The people who built Blackfoot left us more than buildings and streets. They left us a legacy of perseverance, generosity, and vision. They proved that ordinary people working together can accomplish extraordinary things. Now it is our turn. One day, future generations will look back and ask what we did with the community we inherited. My hope is that they will say we honored those who came before us, not by preserving Blackfoot exactly as it was, but by preserving the values that made it special while building an even stronger community for those who follow. That is the story of Blackfoot. Okay, next item on the agenda. I believe that's Graham. I'm not wrong. Is that correct?
Agenda.
Huh?
The consent agenda.
The consent agenda there. Okay.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right. Now we're ready for the city administrator.
Mayor, council, good to be with you this evening. First thing on the agenda with me is the treasurer's report. So you've got that in front of you. We're looking at the month of May as our financials are closed out. So as of May 31st, 2026, 67% of fiscal year 26 has elapsed. And as you go through and you look at that first table, as we run through that, that is our percent expended year to date. And each of those line items, our target would be at 67% or less to be on track of our budget. So as we move through, we can see as the general fund overall, we're at 61.6%, so trending where we'd want to be. Admin's at 67%. Police is at 60%. Fire at 54.2%. The ambulance is at 66%. Streets at 58.6%. Airport at 14.2%. The cemetery at 53.9%, library at 45.1%. Parks and Rec as a whole is at 76.2%, with parks at 82.5% and golf at 70%. I do the calculation because we're taking into account the Twin Bridges and the Bureau Funds. So really parks is actually at 50.5% if you pull out that capital expenditure. Water is at 29.3%, wastewater treatment plant 44.8%, and sanitation at 62.7%. Is there any questions or anything I can answer for the council on the year-to-date expenditures? Okay. We'll go ahead and move down to our bank and investment accounts. Morton Investments closed with $3.7 million. The LGIP fund closed at $14.5 million. Diversified bond fund at $3.1 million. The Zions sweep account at $8.8 million. And the Zions checking account at $2,705.39. Is there any questions on our investments or our bank accounts? Okay. We'll go ahead and jump over to the 3-month calendar outlook. So as we look at the next 3 months, we're looking at July, August, and September. So July, tonight is the tentative budget proposal, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then July 28th will be the public hearing for the budget for FY27. And then we'll go to August, which August City Council meeting, we will propose the FY27 budget ordinance. And then September 2026, we will submit the L2s to the county to be certified, and then they'll move those on up to the state. That's always due the first Friday in September. And then we will also we'll update our fee schedule for FY27, and we will prep for year-end closeout. So any questions on our next 3 months of what we've got going on? Okay, moving down, just some of the different updates on the projects. We've moved the meter on getting the radio meters installed, so we're whittling that down. We still got a little bit left to go, but we'll get them closed out and moved on down. Meridian Highway 91, there's no new update on that project. We're still working through right-of-way with LTAC and ITD, so the engineers and LTAC are working through that process. West Bridge Street Bridge, we're still working through a process for final design. We're on target to meet our final design by the end of September, first part of October. So that's our target date. So we're hoping there. We applied, if you remember, for a couple of different federal grants for construction money. Have not heard back yet. We were hoping to hear maybe the end of June, first part of this month. And I talked with LTAC last week, still haven't gotten any word yet. So we're still hopeful that we might be in the running for that, but we don't know yet. So we'll keep going. And they also had another federal highway grant that came available that we put in for as well. So we're trying every angle we can to see what funding's available for it. Moving down to Pendlebury Lane, Civil Science was awarded CE&I, so they'll have the construction oversight as we do Pendlebury Lane. The construction bids were done and open last week. LTAC and ITD are reviewing those and making sure that they are all qualified bids. Once the engineering firms agree and say that they're good, then they will let us know which firm was the lowest bidder, qualified bid, and then we'll bring that to council for bid award for the project. So hopefully that'll be coming here probably August is what we hope. Moving down, Town Revitalization. We're going to apply for the CDBG grant again. We got some engineering preliminary estimates from Keller on the next block that would be eligible for that grant. And so we'll work with them on design concept, and really everything's been designed. It's just updating with the latest and newest cost estimates and getting bid documents ready to go out. But we have to have all that stuff put together so that when we go for the CDBG grant in late October, early November, we've got all the information so that the grant panel can make a decision on that. So working through that. Well 14, we did have our pre-bid meeting today, and we had quite a big turnout. A lot of contractors showed up, so there's a lot of interest in that project. They went and toured the site. They'll submit any questions or clarifications they need to the engineer, and they'll clarify those before they submit their bids. And then we will open bids on July 22nd. So, and then what will happen is the engineers will go back, qualify the lowest bid, and then based off of that, we'll award the bid. Hopefully we'll be able to do that in August as well. So a lot of things coming here as we get to the end of summer. Twin Bridges Landing, we're still moving forward with that project. It's kind of stalled in the sense that we have to be able to secure a non-consumptive water right to move forward with the fishing pond. And so as we work through that process, Garrett's helping us get that together, an application and everything there. So it's just a time thing. And so we'll keep pushing forward and working on that. The FAA grant for the SRE grant for maintenance tractor airport, we were awarded that. We did receive the grant. So we'll be working with Ardura and moving forward with getting that piece of equipment machinery acquired for the snow removal and maintenance at the airport. And then the last project we've got listed on there is the South Broadway project. HK has completed the main line down the road. That was the the biggest intrusive part of the project. Now their second phase part of it is they're going back and connecting all the services to the property owners. So hopefully they can get that wrapped up here in the next 2 weeks and get to substantial completion, and we'll get things paved back and get roadways opened back up. But they've done a great job. They've moved fairly quickly for the size and scope of the project. So pretty pleased with their production on that. Any questions for the projects or anything that we've got listed there? Okay. All right. If no other questions, we'll go ahead and move to the tentative budget proposal. So Julie sent you out in your packets the workbook. So you had a chance to look at all of the items listed line by line for each department, the changes from the prior year, the capital projects, and different things like that. You were able to attend the meetings that you were available for. I know some of them didn't always line up perfectly with everybody's schedule, but I do appreciate that you were able to make it to the ones you were able to and have your input and go through things. So with that, I also provided you tonight with it's just the narrative of that workbook. Snapshot budget summary from the department heads. It gives you just some graphs and charts that you can look at to see how we compare with our budgets from our expenditures to revenues, and gives you a 3-year look on how we've trended with our actuals. But it's just there to kind of help give you more of a narrative to the different proposals that were put into the workbook. As you guys had a chance to review over the weekend and look at things and from your meetings, is there any questions that we can answer for you tonight for that tentative budget? Tonight we have most all of the department heads here in the audience. So if there's questions that I can't answer for you or clarify, they're here to step in and answer what I'm not able to provide clear detail on. So.
I've been all the way through it, and I mean, a lot of it's just, kind of routine items that come through, but there were a couple of special projects things that are going to happen in 27 that we talked about this morning. You were reviewing with me that may be helpful. Why don't you just talk about those briefly and just those few items that we talked about this morning?
Yeah, no, that's great. So one of the big changes to this year's budget was, for FY27 is the FAA is requiring the city to relocate the walking path in between the Grove and the airport. So that strip that goes along the lake and the airport's on the other side. According to FAA guidelines and regulations, that is too close to the runway. And so they are requiring us, it's not if we want to, they're requiring us to move that 30 feet out into the lake. So we have to build the bank bigger, out 30 feet, and scoot that walking path over. So this has been approved through a JIEC grant, and it is programmed for next year to start. So that grant will include that walking path, realignment, and movement. It'll also be rehabilitating the taxiway and the apron. So all those things are lumped together. So that's some really big projects that are all programmed to go. Now, again, they're programmed, but the federal government, if they can't get to a budget resolution and pass and they delay funding, that could change things. But as of right now, the last communication we got is it's programmed, so plan on something going on in FY27. So that's one of the bigger ones. That's a big change from prior years. The next one is just carryover on the well number 14. We had our pre-construction bid. When they start actually building the well house and all the components into it, it'll probably take anywhere from 9 to 12 months to completion. So you'll have carryover from this year into next year of those expenditures. We're also going to complete the first phase of the public works facility. We've got engineering and designed at 30% complete right now. So hopefully in the next month or two, we'll get it far enough to where we can start getting contract bids and get price estimates. But that project for the water department will also roll into next year. So it's a span of 2 years, this year and next year. So that's the other big two in the water department that are going to carry over. And then the last one is phase 3 upgrades for the waste treatment plant. A lot of that was sped up due to the consent judgment from the Snake River Waterkeepers, that whole ordeal that we've talked about for the last 12 months. They were already planned. They just weren't planned to happen as soon as they are. But because of that, we had to speed up the timetable. And the phase 3 upgrades will address phosphorus management, and it'll also address some capacity, and it'll address biosolid management as well. So it'll have a couple of different components, but that's a big project that will happen, and it'll probably take next year and into 28, possibly 29. So big upgrades, and those are really the big things that drove up a larger amount than what we'd seen in last year or this year's budget. So
for those phase 3 upgrades, are there any upgrades that are not being done yet that are still going to be done in the future? Or are we doing all of phase 3 now?
no, this first part of phase 3, we had to break it down into a part A and part B. So the most important component that needs to be addressed in the part A is the phosphorus. So that's our most critical or issue that needs addressed, and so that will be addressed. And then the next one will be the biosolids and how we manage those. So it will help in some degree with some capacity, but capacity will come later in 4 and 5, but it kind of plays into it. You can't do one before the other type thing. So that's why I say it kind of dips into capacity, but it's mostly about biosolid management and phosphorus. So.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Graham.
Good question.
Anything else?
Anything else?
I don't know anything else.
Okay, so the process now is if council's good with what we have presented and what you saw in the workbooks, we'll go ahead and publish that in the paper. It'll publish twice. So it'll publish next week and the week after, and it'll have the numbers and everything in for everybody to review in public. It'll be in the paper, and then we will have our budget hearing on the 28th. And then after that, we'll go to the ordinance on August 4th if everything.
So tonight, we just need to approve the tentative budget.
Right, that you're okay with the tentative budget as presented.
Okay. Well, I would move that we approve the proposed tentative 2027 budget as presented.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. The last thing I have for you tonight is the declaring the wastewater treatment plant gravel as surplus property. So if you remember several years ago, it's not been that long ago, but the city purchased more ground over at the waste treatment plant in preparation for expansion. And as we're starting to do these upgrades, we're starting to now clear off the ground and make it usable so that we can plan and place the buildings where we need to place them and do the expansion. Part of that is there's a lot of pit run gravel that sits on top that needs to be removed, disposed of. And our initial thoughts were it wasn't going to have that much of a value to it. We're not in the excavation business, so we didn't really think that it would have too high of a dollar value. So we went through the process and had 3 different construction and excavation companies put together some bids based off of what they could topography on quantities and look at and give us some pricing. And we got those back and we're reviewing them with Garrett, and Garrett's like, well, there's a lot more value here than what we had initially anticipated. So we need to back up and make the proper steps to declare the gravel at the waste treatment plant surplus property, and then put it out for bid for contractors to bid on. And we'll put out the parameters and the criteria and all that stuff with the bid documents. But we just need the council to deem it as surplus property. Garrett, did I miss anything or anything you want to add to that?
No, that's accurate. So anything over $25,000, the mayor, so anything under the 25,000, the mayor declares a surplus. Anything over, the mayor declares a surplus with council's approval.
Okay. Yeah.
And this turned out to be, a couple $100,000 worth of gravel, potentially. Yeah, so it was significantly more than what was.
Let me ask a question, Graham. We talked about filling the holes in Jensen's Grove so that we utilize our water. Does any of this work for that?
I think you could. We'd have to go through probably the process with, getting with Army Corps BLM and then probably check material quality, if it would be allowable to put back in and do that. So there'd be some, I guess, some things that we would want to check into first before we just started doing that. But it is definitely a possibility and option. So you can gain that way if you wanted, or, declare it surplus and have a contractor come in and they would pay us for how much they excavate out and go either way. So, I mean, it really is kind of what you guys feel is in the best use and interest of that property, but it really could, Mayor, go either way. We just need to do a little bit more research and digging in on if that would be allowable down in there, because not everything of Jensen's Grove is actually in city ownership, right? BLM comes into there, and you've got Army Corps. You've got a lot of federal and state hands in the pot as well. So we'd want to make sure everybody was on the same page before we did anything like that. So,
Well, I know we've had the discussion that filling those holes will allow our water rights to actually last longer because we won't have to use as much. And we actually talked about with the 30 feet, they're moving that in for the airport. That's going to shrink the size. All of that really benefits Blackfoot. At the same time, I can understand that, we've got an asset there that we could sell. It's kind of a toss-up, but for me, if it works, maybe that's what we need to find out. If we have consent, it works. If it doesn't, then we should sell. But that's kind of where I'm at this point, is saying, let's find out what our alternatives are before we just say, oh, we're selling it. And then later on down the road, the next council or whatever has to deal with filling the holes or whatever to make the water actually be there in the grove.
Well, you made a good point too about having to move the walkway. We either have to put in a bridge that whole way, which would be expensive, or we build it up with the gravel. If this gravel is what I think it is, it's basically the same gravel, the same consistency as what's in the grove already. Because that whole area there is old riverbed, the old river channel. So that rock would be pretty much the same. If we have enough of it, that would save us from having to have a contractor, us have to go out and buy his gravel to bring in. And that's what we used to do. That's why we have some of the deeper areas of the grove, is that's where we would get our own gravel from to do road projects.
Exactly.
And so forth. And so before we set it as surplus, I would say we look at, is there a definite financial benefit to simply move it from where it's at over to where it will need to be for relocation of the walkway?
No, absolutely valid. Like I say, I don't disagree. It should be the same rock, should be the same material. They'll just have to do material testing and quality and make sure
Right.
that it matches up. And if it does, then absolutely it could be a great use and save us in that part of the project. So,
Well, I know having some of that gravel in the past from the grove itself saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars on road repairs when we had to completely redo some of the roads downtown. We used the gravel we already had. So,
absolutely.
Or at least we thought we had till the federal government
well,
said
yeah,
we.
but at that time, the agreement was solid
Right.
and they didn't question it, and we only got what we had to.
Right.
And
No, I
we had a
understand.
big stockpile, and all the streets here in front of City Hall used that gravel when we redid
Saved
it.
us a lot of
So,
money. So
Yes. So,
Can we just,
But
as I said, can we just table this?
Yeah, I think you would just do a motion to table it with the idea that a little more homework to see what's the most beneficial use of that payment would be.
Okay.
I was gonna ask, because I agree that I'd rather use it at Jensen's Grove first. Can we approve the declaring it a surplus in the event that it doesn't work at Jensen's Grove? So we get it taken care of tonight with the caveat that, hey, we're gonna look into this first, or it'd be better to just table it.
I think it's better to just table it because it's not going to come in to be a black and white answer.
Right.
It's going to be one of those that's just which way is the preference because the numbers are going to come in where it's not an easy decision.
Okay.
So
I'll
I'll
make
just
the,
table it.
I'll make the motion. We just table it for now and do a little bit more homework and see if we can use it somewhere else.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
I
Okay.
All right, thanks,
Thanks,
Councilman.
Graham.
All right. Garrett.
So I have just a quick housekeeping type ordinance, and I believe Julie sent it out to you. What we ran into is we had amended the animal ordinance here just a little while back. And as you read through that title,
Sorry, I can't hear you.
oh, okay.
You okay? Yeah, I just can't hear him.
I can move
Okay.
the chair up here.
So maybe let's move that, use a lot of the way there too.
Sorry.
What's the easiest place for you to sit? You can hear best.
I have to look at him.
Here you go. Why don't you sit
And I'll
there?
speak a little louder too.
Well, I just can't help it. I just have to.
Okay.
Anyway, so when we passed the new animal ordinance here a while back, as you go through there, most of the sections will deem a violation as an infraction or deem it as a misdemeanor. And then our penalty provision says those that are deemed as infractions are this, and those that are deemed as misdemeanors are this. The problem we ran into, there's just a handful of them that don't deem them either way. And so then the question is, if they're not deemed one or the other, then what type of violation is it? So this ordinance would just change that if they're deemed infractions, they're infractions. And if they're not deemed one way or another, they're misdemeanors. And so it's just a housekeeping change to that ordinance. So
what ordinance would that be?
what number would we do?
This will be 2295.
Excuse me, I wanted to talk about that. Would it be appropriate for now?
Talk about,
The animal control problem?
well, it's not a public hearing, so it'd be up to the mayor on whether or not, he was gonna allow you to visit about that. Or if it's questions that I can answer afterwards, I'm more than happy to do that.
But you can't take any complaints or anything now?
Well, it's up to the mayor. I mean, it's not a public hearing.
Are you talking about the ordinance or are you going to talk about what's going on or the complaints or?
What's going on? I don't care about the ordinance. I wish that they would enforce the ones that
Okay.
they have.
Okay, and that's what we're talking about right now is that we can enforce them when we have a penalty involved. And that's what he was talking about, saying we have ordinances out there to deal with these animals, but there's no penalty associated with them. And so tonight we are actually putting a penalty so that they can be enforced.
And could I ask what the penalty is?
So the penalty on an infraction is just a civil fine. That's the definition of an infraction. A misdemeanor is up to the judge, but typically those are up to $300 and up to 6 months in jail. But the judge sets those.
Well, I'm just wondering why, if there's a clear violation and I've reported it, nothing is done.
Well, without going into the facts of that particular, I mean, I can't answer that question. I
So
don't know what you're visiting about.
if you have a problem, you can always, call me, call the police chief, our ordinance control officer. They will be hired as of July 31st. And all of that information you can get from the city. So you can get my direct line. You already know what the police the police's direct line is. And the ordinance officer, which also handles animal complaints, can also respond to you. So you have lots of avenues. Now, again, we can, that's what we have to put in tonight, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to make it better for you and every other citizen so that, if there's a problem, we need it taken care of. Okay? That's what I'm trying to do, and that's what we're trying to do tonight is making sure that all of these ordinances can be enforced so that it's for your benefit.
Clara, Do you want to come talk to myself or Captain Davis either tomorrow or Friday? Or
Excuse me, I really,
Would you help?
Stay there, I'll come over.
He's coming up. He's coming up.
Do you want to just come talk to myself or Captain Davis either tomorrow, Friday, or Monday?
well, I guess I could.
And then I can relay to them anything that, would that help you?
Yes.
Okay, we could do that
Where do I locate you?
in the police department, or myself or Captain Davis can come to your house if that's easier.
Will I just ask for you?
You can ask for the chief of police or the captain, okay?
Well, that's all I'm interested
Okay,
in, so thank you.
Let's help her to.
I'm gonna ask for Wheatley.
Wheatley or Davis, either one of us will be there, okay?
Okay,
Are you sitting back down or
Sit down, you don't walk out.
Are you gonna walk out?
all right.
you want me to walk out with you just in case?
Yeah,
Stairs, yeah, let's go. I'll walk you in case you get.
Okay.
So ordinance 2295 cleans that up, just so that we don't have any issues arise in the future. So I'm happy to read it if you want me to, or it would be a motion to approve ordinance 2295 and waive all required readings.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Roll call, I think, don't we?
Oh, it's roll call. Sorry, it's ordinance.
Councilwoman Barlow,
Yes.
Councilman Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Jensen.
Yes.
All right, it is passed. Okay, my turn. The first item up for discussion is the the proposed business registration for home businesses. So I think I've given you a summary of that on the back of it. It's really important for the city of Blackfoot to know which businesses are out there. It can cause some real problems, and we want to make sure that we know that there's a business there and that there's not problems, whether it's parking or chemicals or anything like that. It also helps the business themselves just by filing it. There's no fee involved. You simply go out, you file the form online, and it allows you to get recognition through the various entities like the Chamber of Commerce. They can put that business in a listing there so that people want to look it up. They can help you have, recognition. We're also allowing a 3x5 identification sign to be placed on the property. It cannot be illuminated. This will allow you to have some, a lot of people do it anyway, but we're going to make it legal now. And then, again, it's just voluntary compliance. We're trying to incentivize them rather than penalize them. We want to make sure that we have a reliable contact database for emergencies, infrastructure projects, and economic development efforts and grant opportunities. And because it's a registration system rather than a revenue generating license, it is generally more acceptable for most people. So do you have any questions of me or any of the ordinance itself?
I know we have some regulations on, let's say, how much of the property can be used for the business for home, but that's all we've had in the past. Is that correct?
We have some planning and zoning regulations, but nothing,
Okay.
it's just a registry.
Okay.
So if Garrett wants to run his law practice out of his home, he would just have to register it, and he could actually put a sign up on his yard.
Well, these businesses need conditional use permits, don't they?
So
he
this wouldn't
can't do
change
that.
any,
Yeah.
so this wouldn't
This wouldn't
change any
change
of that.
that.
No, it's
He'd
just
still
a
need to see it.
registration. Yeah, it's still just a registration.
This is ordinance 2296.
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
I move that we approve ordinance 2296 as presented and waive all further readings.
I'll second that.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Barlow,
Yes.
Councilman Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Jensen.
No.
All right. Adoption of the county burn ban. Huh?
Kratom. The Kratom ordinance.
Oh, you want to do Kratom? Okay. Oh, sorry, that's right. I skipped one. Kratom. All right. The Kratom ordinance As most of you know, several cities in Idaho have already passed ordinances banning the sale of kratom. We have no power as a city to stop the usage or possession of it. That has to come from the state. All we can do is ban the sale. Now, the ordinance that was proposed basically would ban everything related to kratom. Let me read it right here. Kratom is not a controlled substance under the Idaho Uniform of Controlled Substances Act, and its sale is not subject to age restriction or under state law, leaving residents of the city without the protections that state laws currently affords with respect to other regulated substances. The Idaho legislature failed to adopt a kratom statute. It was introduced last session, but they did not have time to get to it. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration has listed kratom as a drug and chemical of concern and has identified its active compounds, including, and I'll butcher these names, by the way, but mitragynine and 7-hydroxymitragynine as a proposed risk of abuse and addiction. And we do know that the DEA will be coming out with something within the next 30 or 60 days in terms of regulations of that. But until such time, I know Idaho Falls had just passed their ordinances, and they've already had 8 deaths this year related to kratom. And so it is a dangerous drug. Now, having said that, there is a good use of kratom. And that kratom is really for the dried leaves, and it's not about derivatives from kratom. And so the ordinance proposed says kratom means any part of the plant, Mitragynina speciosa, whether growing or not, including its leaves, extracts, resins, compounds, salts, derivatives, isomers, and any preparation, mixture, or product containing any amount of Mitragynina speciosa, except for dried kratom leaves containing less than 0.00500% 7-OH, which contents and amounts must be certified on the package by the manufacturer. Since a lot of people like to use the dried leaves as a tea to help mitigate the pain and keep them off of opioids, it's important that we can recognize that, but it's also important that the police are able to go ahead and enforce this. And if it's not on the package, then there's no way they could enforce it. And so we're going to have to make sure that if it's being sold, it have to be on the manufacturer's package. Wes, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, not so much on the exception, but more or less kind of what we're facing. A lot of it's just down to similar to, remember when we had Spice, which is synthetic, the city did the same thing, kind of just getting ahead of it before legislation. We had our detectives go meet with everyone that was selling it in the city and county, so we're in a joint division, and kind of took inventory of what we were actually seeing in the community for ourselves. What we're not seeing is many bottles of leaves. So a lot of it's mixed with energy drinks, mixed in oils, mixed with other synthetics. For me, from our standpoint, it's the unregulation. A 9-year-old can walk to a gas station and buy it, nothing prohibiting from sales. Some stores say they are requiring ID upon sale. Most are being sold in vape stores, gas stations, and a few other little shops. And so for us, it's mostly just the availability for the youth and the restriction of those that can't. So it'd be a lot like if you could buy alcohol, but you don't have the volume of alcohol you're buying, and there's no age restriction. That's kind of what we're seeing, whether it's from calls of service. So for us, it's just trying to be preventative rather than reactive. So.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions?
So I want to clarify something. And so it says banning the sale and delivery. So this means that if somebody goes to another city to purchase it and gives it to somebody in the city of Blackfoot, that's also prohibited. Is that correct?
The way it's defined, yes.
Yeah, it's defined.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
But if they went to another city and bought it for themselves,
If they want to
really,
try to say about themselves, that's,
you
And
know,
we can't do anything about
you
it.
can't do anything about that. Yeah,
but you just can't,
And we can't do anything about it in the county.
right.
it's mostly the 13-year-olds riding their bikes to the grocery store.
Yeah, exactly.
And then one other thing, and they might have seen it in there, is that working mayor asked for it to go into effect August 1st. We'll have our detectives, they'll speak to those business owners, make sure they're aware of the ordinance. So come August 1st, they can be in compliance, giving them time to either sell their inventory or pass them on to another store. That's kind of some more lessons of the other ordinances that they've passed. So.
Gotcha.
And I like the exception. Still leaves that door open for those individuals.
Yeah. I think it adequately addresses all of the input that we've received today.
And I think once we get DEA and their rulings and regulations, we may have to modify this, but until that time, at least maybe we can prevent a few deaths.
Well, and I know the state of Idaho is planning something for the next
Right.
legislative session.
So that'll be criminal and be use and
Yep.
possession.
Use of possession. Well, if nobody else wants to say anymore, I will I move that we adopt ordinance 2297, the proposed kratom ordinance, and waive all required readings.
Second,
Roll call?
Councilwoman Barlow,
Yes.
Councilman Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Jensen.
yes.
Okay. The adoption of the county burn ban. Who's going to speak on that? So I don't,
Oh, so the county is, you probably saw, issued a burn ban, I think it was late last week, middle of last week. Anyway, technically, a county ordinance doesn't apply in the city, but our fire department's unique in that it covers both areas. And so the idea here was just to, we've done this in the past, the city adopts the county burn ban, and then that puts our fire department dealing with the same rules, both inside and outside of city limits.
Okay.
And that just requires a motion.
Okay, I would move that we accept the Bingham County burn ban as presented.
I'll second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item, extend the street closure down Pacific Street for America 250 celebration.
Do you want me to elaborate on this one? It isn't just the America 250 celebration. So I spoke with Jamie Polkjoy, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and she said that when they do their street closures for those fairs on the Saturdays, we had one in June. It would be nice to have a little bit of elbow room to be able to have the street closed up Pacific some on either side. And really, it only needs to go to the alleys, but that's hard to define. So I proposed that it go all the way to the next streets, and then they can get as much. You know,
Okay.
just to have a little bit more room.
Got
in
more
that
elbow
intersection.
room there. But
So
it's
that
on
would
those
be-
days that we've already talked about.
Yeah, we've already had the street,
Okay.
West Broadway closed on those days. So it's July 11th and then August 8th.
Okay.
So West Broadway's already closed. We just need to expand it out a little
Just
bit.
make it a little bigger. Okay.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the closure, what do you want to say, just of Pacific
Pacific
Street
Street.
on the days.
So it's from
Already
Highway
approved.
91 to Ash on the days already approved.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Now, next item on the agenda is the land purchase for the street shop, 441 Cedar Street. All of you were sent the purchase and sale agreement, am I correct?
Mhm.
And you saw the signed agreement. Basically, it's up to you to approve that. I know that I specifically put in there with Garrett's recommendation that I will sign this contract, which is subject to the approval of the city council. So it's not valid until you approve it. And is there any discussion about it? Do you have any questions about this?
So they have some time to move that house off, right?
If they move it off, They're trying to sell it.
Okay.
And then once they sell it, they will have to move it off. The other option they had was they could rent it, but that we would assume the lease
Mm-hmm.
in the event we bought it and had got the place sold.
Okay.
The other thing that was part of it was they wanted to take the appliances with them, which I didn't care unless they were renting it with the appliances. And so therefore I said, well, the appliances stay if you are renting it and we're taking over the rent.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
They know that this can't happen until October.
October 2nd, I believe is what's on there, isn't it? I think the closing is for October 2nd. It had to be at the beginning of our
The
new
new
fiscal
fiscal
year.
year.
Right.
So if I remember right, that was the deal. So they know it wasn't gonna close until that. That gives them time to get it building sold and moved or rented, whatever they're doing.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, I need a motion to approve the real estate purchase and sale agreement as written.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, Travis.
Good evening, council. Glad to have my turn up here. Try to make this quick as possible. On the first item on the agenda is the adoption of the fence regulations. For fences of 2026, the new code written will remove the fencing permit and require the property owner to follow the regulations. Changes are made to avoid the city be involved in civil suits over property disputes. Changes include that fences will be built entirely on the property of the owner, and building permit is required for fences over 7 feet tall, aligning with the 2018 building codes. The burden of proving where the property line is located is placed on the person with the complaint, and improved language is added for materials. Any questions?
So what did that clarify, clean up? I didn't go back to the old ordinance.
Currently we have a requirement for a fence permit.
Yep.
I have to review them. All them ordinances are still gonna remain in place. I ain't gonna have to review them. It's gonna be more of a retroactive than proactive. We're gonna still have the ordinance in there. If you want to build a fence, you still have to follow them ordinances, but you don't have to apply for a building permit. We'll remove the fee and the fencing permit from our permitting and licensing portal. We may leave in there information saying we do not require a permit, but this is the new ordinance. So they can at least view them ordinances, and we'll be able to answer any questions at my phone or my assistant's phone.
Okay, thank you.
So one of the 7 foot is actually state, if I remember right, that's a state.
It's part of the building code,
Right.
and that's part of the building code that the state has adopted.
That's why we adopted 7 feet and nothing, greater or less. And the other thing was, we got caught between a rock and a hard place when somebody had attached a fence to somebody else's fence, and they were claiming it was on their property and all of these things. And so we didn't want to have that come up again. You have to build it on your property. If you want to attach a fence to somebody else's, then you're going to have written permission. We're not going to get involved in the middle of that. We do not want to have anything to do with these boundary disputes, fence disputes, and this will help solve that issue.
Okay, very
And
good.
if they
Thank you,
want
Mayor.
to do it right on the property line, they have to get both homeowners.
They'd have to have a shared fence agreement. It'd be hard, even then, it's even hard. It still goes back to a civil lawsuit for us to come in and say, well, you didn't build it on there. We could probably cite them for building not according to ordinance and that penalty, but we are not surveyors, and we like that to be a civil suit, leave us out of it.
And, that's one of the problems that was in this one. The one owner claimed he built the fence in his property, and Then the guy attached it, and then we says, you gotta go get a surveyor. Found out that the guy that built his fence was on the other guy's property. And we just didn't want to be involved in those messes at all. It had to go civil. That was the end of that.
Pretty sure I know where this is too. They told me a lot about it, so.
Okay, so we need to approve the findings, effects, and conclusions.
So yeah, adopt the
Well, we didn't
findings
adopt
from,
the ordinance.
yeah, and then the ordinance would be 2298, and it's just our simple ordinance that attaches that exhibit to it. So it's just the title 11, chapter 8, section 7 will be amended pursuant to the proposal attached here to its exhibit A. So you would do a motion to adopt the findings from planning and zoning and adopt ordinance 2298 and waive all required readings.
I'll make that motion. Thank you, Garrett.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Barlow,
Yes.
Councilman Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Jensen.
Yes.
Okay, Travis, next one.
Next item on the agenda is the adopted and amended ordinance regarding traffic studies. Working with the mayor and the street superintendent, we have to adopt to our city ordinance when to require developers to provide a traffic study. Traffic study will be required in developments in MDR1 and greater densities above that, where 100 units or more or 7 acres or greater is part of the development. Definitions and required standards are added. The adoption of this ordinance makes requiring a traffic study legally defendable in a judicial review.
I have a question about it,
Okay.
and I cannot pull it up to have it in front of me to show you where it was. But it says in there that something needs to be approved by the city engineer, but we do not have a city engineer. So what's the plan there?
So we have an ordinance that says the mayor can assign anyone or any director to them kind of tasks.
Okay.
And so this would be part of this is going to be written into Title 12 for subdivision applications, which I'm assigned to. So it'd be for me to enforce this rule or determine that when it's required.
Okay.
Any other questions? Discussion, comments?
I do like how it's really specific on where a traffic study is necessary and where it's not.
Yeah, we followed in line with the Idaho Department of Transportation's requirements. If you're exiting onto a state highway with 100 units, they require a traffic study. So we followed suit with that. And then 100 units with the MDR1 is that 7 acres to meet that density and acreage.
I am curious to know, and this might just be a standard thing, but why is a level D acceptable?
I don't know if Scott can answer that question, but that's part of the highway handbook that the ITV
We
uses.
didn't make it up.
Class in college that make you retake that class, right? Like it's,
Well, no, that's
Well, that's
still
a-
passing.
no, you don't get your degree.
C minus,
You get a
C
D.
minus. I know that.
If you get a D, you don't get your degree, sorry.
Well, again, we do it based
Used to
on
not
state.
get
Based on state standard, okay.
Yeah,
And
it's
so-
a handbook that they've adopted, and that's what all the engineers use in their traffic studies as well. They can do a study and make predictions.
Right,
They can't, they could say 100 units. They could analyze all the intersections around that could be affected for that project. But each project is unique in that kind of sense, not unless it's right by the off ramp or right next to the interstate,
it just hurts my soul.
You're right. C's get degrees, but D's do not. I haven't tested it to C's getting degrees. Not D's.
I'm the lady who cried for 15 minutes at my first B plus, so.
Wow. All right. If there's no further discussion, do we have,
So it'll be the same motion as last time to adopt the findings of fact of planning and zoning and approve ordinance 2299 and waive all required readings.
So moved.
Seconded,
okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Barlow,
yes.
Councilman Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Jensen.
Yes.
Okay,
Next item on the agenda is to approve the development agreement for Honeybrook 3. They have received their DEQ approval. They've received their will serve letter. This is about of our standard agreement for development agreements, except we're in our special considerations and agreement. That talks about water supply that'll provide the required flow, the type of couplings used on the hydrants, signage that'll be required during construction in order to locate, and fire access must be provided and maintained prior to any building permits and during construction. All the others, it is an HOA. It does require sole ownership until this agreement is completed. This agreement requires city council approval, the developer and mayor's signature. Will also be notarized and recorded with the county.
Can you remind me, did this development have surface water rights?
Yes, it did, and they will maintain them. If you want to pull up that. This is what they issued to the DEQ for their plans, which does show their water and sewer lines. What it doesn't show is the surface water exactly, but we're to the north, that is Honeybrook 2. And between Honeybrook 2 and 3 is a ditch that runs through there and also supplies further down to the west. And they will use that to flood irrigate that area. And that will remain a big grassy area. They also show amenities like pickleball courts and a couple other things.
So they're just using the surface water for the community areas, not for the areas in front of the individual places?
Yeah, they still require, I think we're still gonna have a pressurized system to feed that. I can't remember that.
Is it pressurized secondary or is it culinary?
It'll be secondary.
Yeah, the original developments have pressurized secondary, so I was understanding with that.
Yeah, you couldn't do flood irrigation on those properties. You'd have to have
No, you
pressurized systems.
Cool.
Well, I move that we approve the development agreement for Honeybrook 3 as it has been presented.
I'll second that.
Okay,
All right.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item.
Next item, in your package, you received a letter from me for the changing of the name of Ridge Street to Founder Street. It is, Founder Street isn't a duplicate of any other street according to our official list of streets. This is to help emergency service to respond and make sure that it isn't confused with Rich Lane. So we are required to rename Ridge Street. It has less residents on it. That'll be affected. And Founder Street is going to be named after the original founders of that town site. A lot of the streets are naming them specifically by name, but this is more of a non-biased name that applies to all of them. In the letter, you see that we will give them 90 days in advance notice ending in October 7th. We'll also duplicate addresses up until that point and give them a chance to do a change of address in that time. None of the house numbers are required to change, just the street name.
Okay.
Well, then I move that we approve the street name change of Ridge Street to Founder Street.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item.
Next item. This is another street name change. We have Lawrence Lane, and there is a private undedicated lane used by residents that is referred to as sometimes as Baby Lawrence Lane or Little Lawrence Lane. So it is a duplicate, and we have to change that name as well. It was proposed by a local resident to change it to Chatfield Lane. Chatfield Lane is in recognition of Francis Chatfield Lawrence, who was an early resident in the lane and the surrounding properties. He lived between 1908 and 1992 and brought the original barracks onto the property and converted them to apartments. Leo Wallace made this recommendation. It does not duplicate, and we've checked with emergency services so that it isn't phonetically similar to any other streets in our official street list.
There's only one resident on that
On
Baby Lawrence?
Baby Lawrence Lane, there's about 7.
7.
And some of the houses are turned toward Cromwell, some are toward actual Lawrence, but 7 are in the lane.
Okay.
And so that'll affect them 7, but we do not have to change the house numbers. We just have to change the name. I verified that with our GIS technician.
Okay.
We have a motion.
I move that we approve the change of Lawrence Lane
Little
to,
Lawrence.
or Little Lawrence Lane to Chatfield Lane.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
All right,
Thank you,
that
Council.
concludes the agenda. Thank you, Travis.
Thanks, Travis.
Any other matters? Okay, this meeting's adjourned.
Very good. Just a matter of adjournment.
Good catch, man.